Good evening. Welcome to this episode of Prophecy for the Last Hour. My name is Elizabeth McGee. I am your host tonight, and I have meat again at the dinner hour. So I'm going to go home and eat when I get done, and my husband's cooking chicken on the grill. We're getting into some good outdoor barbecue time, so that's always a good thing. But I want to, again, I am going to pick up exactly where I left off last week. I have been doing a series on the keys to the kingdom, which is a way of how the meanings, the deep understandings of biblical truth are kind of couched into words, and you have to kind of dig a little deeper. It's not at the very first level understanding. And so I'm going to continue to unpack this tonight from a Kabbalistic point of view. This is where I have found, and I believe it's absolutely true, our Torah, our prophets have hid the truths of God, and they have been going forward, and now it's time for, like I said, the Goyim to get them. So I'm calling this Kabbalah for Goyim because it's time. The house of Israel, the Gentiles, it's time for us to understand this deeper level, and it's beautiful. It makes the whole word of God makes sense, and it clears up all the confusion. And it also helps us to get out of a fundamentalist box that actually is not helping anybody at this point. So here we go. We're talking about the four worlds. I had last week a chart of a Sephiroth chart. Here's one of my little cheat sheet notes just to show you this, because you can see this. This is an ancient symbolic representation of the tree of life, or the 10 emanations, God, the Sephiroth. It's a bunch of circles on a piece of paper. But packed inside of these, in this concept, is so much wisdom and understanding from the Father. It's great. So, but one of the things that it needs to be understood, because one of the things I am about is reclaiming these keys. And ever since we came out of Babel, the whole big story about the Tower of Babel, and the language of the world, we're 70 nations, 70 language families. It's very confusing. It has become a mass of confusion as concepts, places, people change from one culture to another. So when you're trying to track it, it takes a lot of brain. That's why the internet actually makes this stuff so much easier now, because you can have all sorts of files, and you can keep things very organized as you try to do this. But I'm appealing to people because my audience, I believe, are the elect. Our meat eaters are people who can handle the deep truths of the Word of God, and who are called in this time to bring the light to the nations. Okay, so I want us to try to, this is part of the key, to get on the same page, to talk the same language. When you get into biblical interpretation, there's many ways, different schools or theories, or as I'll talk about how to rightly divide the word. I would like to use, and I think this is what Kabbalah uses, this is what is our Hebraic, I think the word is homiletic, exegesis, is PARDS. It's an acronym for 4 words, and it's called PARDS. You have, it starts down here, a Peshat level of understanding, a Drash level of understanding. Take all the vowels out. You have P, the Ramez, which is sort of a hint, and you have the Sod, which is where you have your deeper mysteries and truths, things that are not knowable right on the surface. It's done deliberately this way. So if we would kind of follow this and go up and down in understanding using these principles, I think it would help us to communicate better and be a lot easier. People would call this the allegorical, the literal, the allegorical, the archetypical. There's different words, but so let's use PARDS. It works. It's very easy to understand, and it's very biblical. So anyways, because it relates to the 4 worlds, okay? And this is basically dimensions, realms, where we're made up of body, soul, and spirit. These are different places, because it's hard to put, geographically, places in the whole big cosmos where God works with us, in our body, in our soul, and in our spirit. and then where he is. Okay, so it's going to start at the top. It starts with a concept of Ein Sof. I've been through this. Ein Sof is like, I call it the God on the eighth day. He is outside of his creation. He is pi. He's infinity. He's omnipotent. He's omnipresent. He is just God. And he didn't need a creation, whatever. Nobody made him make a creation. This was just in the mind of God. This is something that he has done, and he does it because it demonstrates his whole nature. He is a giver. He is a blesser. He wants to produce. If you follow out the 6 days of creation, everything was good and very good when he made it. So we're going to start with, so that's that up there, and eye is not seen, ear is not heard. I'm not even going to go there. Nobody really, I don't know. We'll see. On the 8th day. It's going to be awesome. The new heaven and the new earth in the book of Revelation in chapter 21. But you have here, this is the world I'm going to stick with tonight really extensively. This is like I said, the sod level, the mystery level, the deeper level. It is called Absolute. It is the, so let's just go through this. There's a verse in Isaiah where it talks about, hold on a second, just to make sure I'm not getting myself confused. If I get confused, then you're really going to get confused, I think. Okay, yes. This is the couture, this is the crown. This is a place of Yahweh Elohim, and really again, it has many Kabbalistic names. When you're reading the Bible, this is what they did, they encoded it. So this is, believe it or not, this is the crown. This is, what is ether, a place. This is the hoary head. This is the hairs of the beard. I'm just giving you words that are in your Bible, which are actually encoded to refer back to the highest primordial essence of Yah. Okay, because remember, God is spirit. He is breath. This is the word breath, okay? He's known as the long face, the Ancient of Days, the Holy One. This is where nothingness, the dew of Hermon, the origin of will, and the supernal East. So, it can, like I said, you got to really have the mind of Christ to do all this. But anyways, this is a place of the emanations of God. This is the Godhead. This is an uncreated. This is God in his uncreated form. Remember? Okay? He is outside of the creation. All right. But he has instituted a process of creation and of manifestation. Okay? I'm a manifestation. If you're saying you are a creation of some kind of system. You didn't just poof out of nowhere. All right? So this is where we're going to start here. And it says this in Isaiah, and this is what they're referring to, when you understand. Isaiah, he's talking to Isaiah, or maybe it's in Jeremiah. Isaiah, and he says, I knew you in your mother's womb, where I created you, I formed you, and I made you. Okay, those are totally different. That's referring to the things that go on in the different realms that refer to different parts. Because remember, I told you this whole thing, you should listen to my 2 YouTubes. The Adam Kadmon is a concept of the spiritual archetype. And an archetype is a word, it means the first, like the first template. That's why Rosh is related to the word Rosh, means beginning, the headwaters. It's the beginning. It's the origin or place of origin. Okay, it's the first time. All right. So you have this world of Berea. It is a world of creation. Okay, and this is in the parts. It is a place of Ramez. You'll see hints of it. This is the way our Bible's done. It doesn't just, people want to say, well, show me that in the Bible. Well, I can show it to you, but I'd have to show it to you where you were like in 10th grade. Okay, you'd have to have some Bible understanding. I can't just show you the words on a page. It takes wisdom and understanding. It takes understanding, okay, some of the principles of God to see this. Okay, this is the whole point. A seer prophet, they're able to see deeply into God's word, into his world, into the way he operates, okay? So there's usually a hint. Now this is the place of, and it's referred to as air a lot of times, because the ancients had all this, and this is why when you get into these elements and they're constantly using words like water, fire, it's in alchemy, it's all over the place. Now I have said this before. This is our understanding. This is our, we need to reclaim this, because this is how your Bible is written. If you're a Gentile Christian, you have to stop making stuff up. We have to go back to the root and understand how our Hebraic fathers, Jacob, people who wrote parts, Moses, how they understood this and used the words in their context, okay? So you have here this world of creation. It is the first, in the mind of God, it's where he is, he's an essence, he's a thought. He's, you were in the mind of God. You are, okay, he knew us before the foundation, refers to the formation of the world. See, this is where it starts, up here. We were in his mind. He engraved us on his hands in a place, and we were with him in the beginning. It's what it means, okay? Now, we didn't have any physical manifestation up there. We weren't like running around playing softball up there with him. No, it is a place where he knew that there was somebody like Elizabeth up there, and I got to get back there. This is where we're trying to get back to, okay? He's trying to draw us back, because this is the highest level that there's so much. Well, okay, let's just keep it simple here. The world of creation, okay? Now, this is, and it's air refers to this, an idea. Now, I'm going to go into Genesis and try to really flesh this out from Genesis 1 and 2 and explain it on day 1. This is what everything that happens on day 1 is sort of in this category of creation, all right? Now, then it goes down to Yetzirah, which is a world of action. No, I'm sorry. Yetzirah, okay, is the next one, which is the drash. This is the laws and the physics. A lot of this plane is the astral plane. This is the plane of the soul. This is the plane of the heart. This is where you say this is the brain, this is the heart of the matter, okay? There are 4 levels to our soul. Even inside these categories, there are levels, okay? But you get the word Midrash from the word drash, okay? It doesn't pop out of nowhere. A Midrash is sort of, and this is where we get a lot of our Midrashes, which is talking about the laws of God, okay? What he expects, and they flush out a lot of the oral Torah, which is the Talmud, which deals with a lot of the interpretations, a lot of the commentaries, a lot of the discussions on really what is the true interpretation of God's laws, okay? That's in this, part of that is in this game. And, people talk about this in your soul category, okay? When Jesus said, for out of the heart are the issues of life. So in other words, people where they're going to say it comes out of the heart, whether you're going to obey or disobey, usually you have a discussion inside of yourself like, should I steal that piece of candy or not? I mean, usually you think about it. You have a place in there where you're kind of like, should I or shouldn't I? And usually you have influences. This is the whole idea, left side, right side. The good angel, the bad angel, kind of trying to influence you. Because I have to say, this is the place of angels and demons. See, this is what we need to understand. We need to grow up into how the Bible is using very in a physics sort of way, what's going on. Angels and demons are thoughts, memories, feelings, and emotions, believe it or not. This is a category that is very powerful. These are entities live in this that can influence you. Okay, categories of living beings live in this dimension, and they can influence you. Okay, that's why, and that is why that says that angels have wings, because they can move, they can come and go, and you don't know where they come from. I mean, where do they come from? Okay, this is a world, you can't see it. These are all part of the invisible. Remember, I told you everything is made out of visible and invisible. This is all invisible, but at the same time, this is what really annoys me. Well, a lot about modern science. They don't want to do anything metaphysical, which means just above the physical, deal with any of these 3 realms above us. Okay, but New Agers, but a lot of people like to go in there in a sense because, let's not be stupid. There are things that go on in our mind. And this is where possession and entities come in. This is like a huge category, and we need to flush this out a little bit more. Then you come down to the last level, Passat, the literal. This is our physical world. This is where finally, the little seed you planted, or the thought of God, has finally popped out into the open, and you begin to see the flower, and then you see the fruit, which is the final manifestation of what was in the mind of God. And this tracks with the whole concept of Genesis. So if you understand this, and you're tracking with Genesis, you're progressing down. You're progressing from what they call simple. And this is why you got to understand words. This is called, it's simple, all right? But the point is, it's not simple in the sense of like simple is stupid. It is pure essence. There's hardly any complexity. It is just the raw essence, the raw power, just the whole, everything in its unformed, which is, like they say, the power of suggestion is the most powerful thing on the planet, because there is so much in a thought, in an idea, in a concept, okay? And then as it comes down, that's another thing here is, so this is, like they relate this like to the building of a house, okay? And this is where it gets into Hokmah and Bina. I was going to show you this. But you get an idea in your head, like, oh, I want to build a house, right? Okay? And you see it. This is an interesting concept. See if I can do it. Where you see it in your mind, okay? And it's usually more splendid in your mind, okay? So a lot of times you get disappointed when you finally experience something that you've been building up in your mind, because your mind is capable of unbelievable, yes, imaginations. We're supposed to stay away from vain imaginations, but imaginations, okay? If you can imagine it. I mean, that's what we're trying to tell these kids today. It's really, but they don't tell them the other side, but you really have to do this according to the Torah, the laws of God. There's a whole bunch of this stuff that they leave out. But anyways, let me just make this one point. This is the intellect, all right? And intellect is more, and so this is the original. I don't know, sometimes words do fail you. This is where God is with the breath of God, the Keturah, the crown, and He pours, just like, think of like a hose that contains water, that contains everything that you're ever, and it just pours into, I don't know if that analogy is going to work. All right, because the pouring out of God comes into what that's last singularity, where you finally get like a condensed point. You can almost start to see it. You see it in God's mind's eye. Okay, in other words, this is in the mind of God. Now we're getting down to the eyes of God. He's really starting to see it, and we can get some hints of what He's seeing and what He's going to make. Okay, so but this is such a more potent world, and it's like, okay. And these are some of how he compares the typologies. The intellect is more brilliant and splendid and beautiful than that which is seen. As the sun is, the light is over darkness. I mean, the light of the sun and what it can shine forth is way more potent and beautiful and like, oh my gosh, knock you off your socks, than what is hidden in darkness, okay? Or day over night, okay? Or intellect over your outward senses. So in other words, a lot of times fantasy, this is why, to live in the mind, we got to have, that's why it says too heavenly minded, but not only earthly good. Unfortunately, we do have to have a little bit of our boots on the ground here and stay a little grounded in this thing, okay? Or the eyes are so much more capable of just absorbing everything as versus other parts of the body. Okay, your feet just don't even come close to having some of the capabilities that your eyes do, okay? So this is how some of this archetypal comparison works. Now, so we're going to go back up here, and I'm going to read Genesis. Let me see if and in terms of light, I will say that, okay? Let me just see if I made my points. Because what's really important in understanding how these concepts work when the prophets use words or concepts, it's really different. So the soul is created what they call, and it says this in your Bible. So if you're trying to ever do these searches and find what are they talking about? The four winds of heaven. Okay, this is talking about air. And another thing about this, the reason they use things like air or fire breath, because they're ethereal. They float up. They don't have corporality. They're very just, the wind is there, but you don't know where it comes from, where it goes. It's very ethereal. It's very mysterious, okay? This is why these words, okay, so, but the four winds of heaven refers to the mechanisms or the different systems that are running our soul life, okay? I've said this before. But the four corners of the earth, or the four elements, this is down in physicality, because it talks about Peter, the four corners. So sometimes the four winds of heaven is referring to the astral and the planes of the higher soul life, okay? Whereas the elements, the dust of the ground, the four elements are referring to things that are in our physical world, which is way bigger. Let me just tell you this, because you get down, Adam was made of the dust of the earth. Again, it doesn't mean dust, dirt kind of dust. It's talking about the elemental building blocks, okay, so that have come together. They're very complex, unbelievable codes that combine and do things to make all of this varied life we have, okay? So now let me go into this. Let me go into Genesis and try to flush this out a little bit. Okay, so let me just, a couple more things to, I'm totally off this topic. Some of the words and the concepts, when you understand that the earth, the earth has a kind of like double meanings. It does mean the building blocks of primordial building blocks that come down, that are in the core of all living things, but it also is referring to the dry land. Then there's another place which is called the Eretz. There's a place where God, he did separate. He pulled these together into a place called the dry land. This is really very scientific in physics to this. But you have what's the outer covering, you have the skin. So these are and it's the literal level, so what you can really see, okay? This is why they use a fruit, because I said you got the skin. I used a nut, like a nut last week, because it has an outer husk, it has a pulpy, fleshy, which is here, which is emotions, which is water, which is really a little bit, because these things actually do kind of, so the world of formation has a little bit of this and a little bit of this. They kind of do mix and mingle a little bit as they come down with each other. But anyways, let me get into this. In Genesis, let's just start at the beginning, because this is a place we've got, in my opinion, if we're going to ever really free Shekinah from her bonnet, we've got to learn the language. This is the thing. It's a language, and you have to learn it. So, in the beginning, Elohim, and it is the word Elohim, and there is a good reason. See, this is one of our problems. This is why in the Hebrew Roots Movement, one of the best things that they have done for us, people try, is it has helped us to get into the Hebrew to understand how specific it is. Hebrew is the language of God, because the names of God, they're very specific. Like I said, the whole concept of the emanations, he's wearing a lot of different hats. He's doing a lot of different processes at the same time. God can run many, many computer programs at the same time, all right? And so it's very important to, all right, so let's just start. We're going to start with Genesis. I'm going to read some scripture here. In the beginning, with beginning, which I've told you also, Elohim, that's what I was going to say, the different names of God. So you really got to get in your Hebrew and see the name of God. There are 10 names of God in the original emanations, and there's, see, this is, and then you have your, well, I won't even go into some of this, the 22 letters, and the 10 decades. So there's the 10 emanations and the 22 letters, which makes the 32 paths of God. See, they're very linear. There's a whole system around these concepts that you will hear, all right? So, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And I have an NIV here. So, I mean, the translators are doing the best they can, but God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness, and called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Okay? Now, I'll tell you what, people, books and books and books and books and books written trying to unpack this, but if we would have had a Kabbalistic understanding, and the Jews have had this thing, but, unfortunately, they have really kept this pretty close to but it's fine. And I understand it, but now it's time to come out. We would have had the code word. So let me try to unpack this for you. Okay? We are in the world of Berea now. We have come down. He has spoken. He has started a process. Actually, the whole first verse, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Now that word Elohim, it does not refer to other gods. Okay, other gods outside of our God. Okay, and the Elohim is not referring to other gods. It's manifestations of God. In other words, when you get down to Berea, Bet, the third, she is so loaded, she is so pregnant. This is the point, with possibility. The whole blueprint. This is why it says I have the whole blueprint for the whole thing, soup to nuts. Sorry, people, billions of years, different epochs and aeons, from top to bottom, the whole heaven and earth that he's creating is in Berea, Elohim. Okay? What can I tell you? Now, I could say a lot more about it, but I got to do all this in an hour. So you have here, he created the heavens and the earth. What that means is the heavens. Okay, now the one thing you have to understand, this is talking in the realm of Berea. It is mind, it is essence, it is intellect, it is an idea. There is no corporality here. There is no corporality. If you try to think that he's talking about the heavens we can see, which is down here, you are not even darkening his door. Okay, you're just not even hardly on the path. Okay, see, this is what I'm trying to tell you. We have to understand this so we can begin to track with the true mind of God. All right? Now, with beginning, which really is referring to with Chokmah. This is the point, and I went through this a little bit, and I'll touch on this. Chokmah and Bina. This is the first letter of, and this is something I'm going to do too, because it's really, the Paleo-Hebrew, which is a pictograph, literally from Alf to Tav tells the whole story in its pictograph. It's amazing. And I'll just start with just showing you the first two, okay? So this is the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. This is called a bet. It means a house. It means a tent. It means a floor plan. It's the blueprint, like I told you, okay? The Alf is silent. The Alf is known as an ox head, okay? But if you look at your paleo, it's an ox head, okay? But this is the Adam caveman. This is just coming right in. This is the whole template. Now, the difference between Chokmah and Bina, the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain, the masculine, the feminine, God started a process that immediately became binary. Now, I have been all over this in a lot of my other YouTubes, and I hope you can begin, if you want to listen, to try to track with this, okay? But this is the heaven and the earth, okay? He created the heavens and the earth. Now, this is what you have to understand. Let me say this. It starts with an incorporeal heaven. He's talking about a heaven that encompasses everything, soup to nuts, but it's just the concept, the idea, all right? But in it, and then he's talking about the earth, okay? But he is not talking about the eretz that's way down here. There's no physical manifestation yet at all. But inside of Chokmah and Bina is the whole blueprint for this whole thing, just packed and condensed. That's why